tragedy at a Calgary lake.
So there was me and 2 or 3 other people. We dove in.
2 young men drowned despite efforts to save them. The search continues in Kananaskis.
They were in this canoe, 4 of them. That's a lot of people in a canoe.
2 people still missing. And the Littlest Honky Tonk. The Calgary horse trailer turned museum that has Post Malone's approval.
Good afternoon. We begin with breaking news. Police say there's an active shooter in Crescent Heights, and residents in that area are being told to shelter in place. Stephanie Thomas joins us from the police staging area at North Hill Center. So, Stephanie, take us through what you know so far.
Ian, police issued the shelter in place for anybody living near the 500 block of Crescent Road Northwest. So let's take a look at a map of the area. As you can see, it's near McHugh Bluff. Police sent out the active shooter alert around 3:30 this afternoon. Now, at this point, they say nobody has been injured. Everyone is being told to stay away from Crescent Road until it's been deemed secure and safe by police. Now, as of a few moments ago, there were a lot of emergency crews in the staging area near North Hill Center. That's a pretty far distance away from the scene, and that's for safety. There were plenty of paramedics on standby, but there have been no reports of any injuries or patients. So this situation is very fluid. Police are telling people to shelter in place on Crescent Road, and everyone else should avoid the area and allow officers to focus on the task at hand. Ian, we're going to continue to bring you updates throughout the rest of the show as more information becomes available.
Stephanie, thanks very much. Tragedy on Mahogany Lake has left 2 young men dead and a community reeling. The bodies of 2 20-year-olds were retrieved by fire crews last night. Jordan Canigan is in Mahogany with more. And Jordan, this is a complete shock to those who live there.
Ian, it really is, and people have been stopping by to different viewing areas around the lake and in front of the Mahogany Beach Club, leaving flowers for the 2 young men who were found here in the lake area right behind me late yesterday. It was around 5 o'clock in the afternoon when officials were called after witnesses saw a man go under the water. Fire crews using sonar and underwater cameras to try and locate the missing person, and initially thought they were looking for just 1 man. Police then discovered a 2nd man was missing. Their bodies were recovered not far from the dock area at the Mahogany Beach Club with the assistance of a volunteer dive team. They're both 20 years old, but officials aren't saying how or even whether the 2 knew each other or what exactly led up to this incident. A bystander who tried to help the young men describes what happened.
There was a couple of us. We asked them where the fellow went down, and they pointed to where they went down. So there was me and 2 or 3 other people. We dove in, and we dove quite a few times around the area and, and tried to find something, and we couldn't find anything.
Now, this is not the first time that something like this has happened here on Mahogany Lake. Young girls drowned here in 2021 and also in 2013. Now, police say at this point there is no indication that there is anything suspicious, calling this a tragic incident. The 2 did not have life jackets on when they were discovered. It's believed they were just here swimming. The area of the lake where those 2 bodies were recovered, somewhere between 3 and 4 meters deep. Ian?
Okay, thank you, Jordan. And the search continues for 2 people who went missing after their canoe capsized on Upper Kananaskis Lake. 2 others were rescued on Tuesday, but a man and a woman still haven't been found. And RCMP say the search has shifted to a recovery effort. Terry Fikowski joins us from the scene with more on the rescue efforts. Terry?
Ian, emergency crews had to suspend their operations yesterday due to high winds, but returned early this morning and have just been scouring the lake and shoreline for any sign of the missing man and woman who haven't been seen since the canoe they were in capsized on Tuesday. A dive team conducted a sonar search of the lake, seeming to focus much of their efforts around an island. Parks Canada is also assisting, using dogs to search the shoreline. RCMP and Kananaskis emergency crews were called here around 4 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon after a canoe capsized with 4 people inside. RCMP say they were part of a group of 7 international visitors camping in the area while on vacation. Now, bystanders jumped in to help and were able to rescue a 30-year-old man and a 34-year-old woman, but couldn't save another 34-year-old man and 33-year-old woman.
They were in this canoe, 4 of them. That's a lot of people in a canoe. Weren't wearing life jackets, unfortunately, and the canoe went into the water ultimately with 4 of them going in. There were local people that were also enjoying the water. There was a boat as well as a paddleboard that went out to try to help them when the canoe did capsize. They were successful in recovering 2 of them.
Now, this incident comes roughly a week after a similar incident in K Country where 2 people drowned after their canoe capsized on Barrier Lake. RCMP say it's a tragic reminder about the importance of water safety, including always wearing a life jacket. Ian?
Thank you, Terry. Calgary police have completed the disposal of hazardous materials found 2 days ago in the Manchester industrial area. The package was found to contain substances like picric acid, which was unstable and posed a public safety risk. Officers from the bomb squad began controlled detonations at the site. A plan was made to move the rest to a secure site before destroying it. The municipal emergency plan was deactivated at 2 p.m. today, and police thanked the public for remaining calm.
We're well aware that the impact of this particular situation on local businesses and the greater community. And again, as Chief Henry said, I do want to personally thank everyone affected. Your patience and support to our members that were there working in a very difficult situation helped contribute to the successful conclusion of this event.
The criminal investigation continues into where the substances came from and why they ended up in the Manchester area. Judith Umbuck Library in Huntington Hills has reopened. It was closed Wednesday afternoon after staff found a suspicious package. Tactical officers inspected the item and determined it was not dangerous. The Canadian Severe Storms Laboratory says wind-driven hail damage in the Brooks area last week was among the worst their teams have ever documented. On August 20th, the researchers say a major storm affected a large swath 80 kilometers long and 11 kilometers wide between Brooks and areas to the north of it. The group sent teams to document the damage. They say hailstones were up to 70 millimeters in diameter and winds between 120 and 165 kilometers an hour. That lasted 20 minutes or more. All buildings with west-facing plastic siding suffered 50 to 100% damage. Even vapor barriers were destroyed. There was heavy damage to asphalt shingles, metal roofs, and trees, and crops were totally wiped out. So that was a while ago when the weather was eventful. It's been totally uneventful this week and going into the weekend, too.
And I still think of what that system looked like on the radar. It was unreal. You don't see that very often. So happy that everybody seems to be okay with that. But yes, there's a lot of cleanup. We don't have that in the forecast. We do have some weaker thunderstorm activity possible over these next couple of days. So just be aware of that. 27 degrees is the temperature. A little breezy, gusts up to 33 kilometers per hour, and it's possible to have gusts up to 40 kilometers per hour these next couple of hours, and then it'll be quiet overnight for the morning sunshine. But by tomorrow afternoon, we may see a little sprinkle as early as 1 in the afternoon, and then that chance arrives for showers and thunderstorm activity, non-severe in the city, closer to the supper hours once again, with a high of 29 degrees. That's your 24-hour forecast, brought to you by 5th Avenue Volkswagen, where you can win your ride. See dealer for details or visit 5thavvw.com. Ian.
Thanks, Danielle. Cirque du Soleil's latest show has arrived in Calgary, and you'll find the Big Top at Stampede Park. The production is called Echo. It features a massive cube that moves around the stage. Performers are putting in lots of time rehearsing to make sure everything is working the way it should in time for the premiere next week. The company arrived in Calgary with 72 truckloads of equipment and 53 performers, accompanied by 69 support staff.
The Cirque world is a very different lifestyle. So we travel together, we work together, we eat together, we visit the city together. So it's really a big family. So there's 122 of us that are on tour, and we're all traveling together, and it creates this family vibe.
The show begins September 3rd and runs until the middle of October. For more information, head to our website, ctvnews.ca/Calgary. The Alberta government is crunching the numbers, and things are looking worse. Still ahead, the calls to save taxpayers' money as the province posts a deficit. And a health warning about a lake in the Calgary area. Also, if you have a news tip, text us at 10400. Alberta is projecting a $6.5 billion deficit in its first quarter economic update. That's over $1 billion more than its budget forecast, and is sparking calls for the province to slow down spending. The biggest reason for the deficit growth is a 38% decline in natural resource revenue. Global uncertainty because of Donald Trump's tariffs are also to blame. Cabinet ministers are also being told to think hard about any new unbudgeted funding requests. The Canadian Federation of Business is urging the provincial government to rein in costs to avoid burdens on new entrepreneurs.
Albertans want our government to be frugal, provide the services they need, and look for efficiencies and opportunities to speed up economic growth and stability. That's exactly what we'll do.
The finance minister says Alberta's economy remains on solid footing. Consumer spending and housing starts are stronger than anticipated. Plus, we're expected to lead the country with real GDP growth of 2% this year. Calgary and the communities surrounding it are teaming up in an effort to bring new business to the region. The new initiative is called Invest Greater Calgary. Calgary Economic Development will join forces with Airdrie, Chestermere, Okotoks, Cochrane, Rocky View County, and Foothills County. The group says by speaking with one voice, it's easier to attract global capital and respond to trade disruptions. They also note there's growing momentum around the world for regional collaboration. Okay, we are in the waning days of summer. People want to enjoy it as much as they can over the long weekend before they go back to school and work and all that, and it's looking really good for them.
That's because they're smart people.
Right.
Take it in the best you can, because yeah, I mean, next week will be nice, but it'll be more reasonable heat. It won't be as excessive. Here's your Skywatch weather cam. We have some cloud cover out there, but also some blue sky too. Temperatures in all of southern Alberta, not quite what they were yesterday. I mean, Calgary's pretty similar. Yesterday's high in Calgary was 29. So far, high today 27. But Drumheller, Brooks, Medicine Hat, Milk River, Lethbridge were well into the 30s at this time yesterday. And while Drumheller is, Edmonton is, you can see the hot temperatures are actually in the north right now. It's certainly more reasonable heat right now already. And we're going to be a little more reasonable for today and tomorrow. And then the heat will boost back up again. The difference is the overnight lows may be a little cooler than what we've had, and so it may push this all out of the warning criteria for this next warm stretch. Still heat warnings in place, but these will start to drop off as temperatures just continue to cool over this next little bit. Okay, there's a system from the States that's pushing in, so we got the heavier rain in the southeast corner here, and especially south and tracking towards Medicine Hat. For Calgary, though, we've had some cloud cover from this. That's pretty much all we got. A little bit of wind, 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. There is that build up again along the foothills, but it looks like it won't be able to track to the east again. That's today. Tomorrow it will be able to track towards the east because we're getting more unstable because of this stateside system. So for the far southeast corner, they'll see rain right through tomorrow. For us here in Calgary, we're looking at sunshine throughout the day. But then by about 1 in the afternoon, 1 to 2, small chance of an isolated shower. And then we have the chance closer to the supper hours once again, as you can see here. Areas to the east of QE2 and Highway 2, Brooks could see some of this activity, and certainly along the mountains as well. And then we have a greater chance of thunderstorm activity on Saturday. So sunshine for much of the day in the south, but then by about 5 o'clock, we get into the chance of showers and thunderstorm activity in the city. Okay, 29 degrees. degrees for tomorrow. Again, the chance of later day, afternoon and late day showers and thunderstorm activity, non-severe. And that similar thing for Saturday. 28 is a high for Saturday, 28 for Sunday, but it should be way more stable as the ridge strengthens once again for the rest of the long weekend. So 28 degrees on Sunday, 28 degrees for Labor Day Monday. And then as we push into next week, as I've mentioned, we are looking at temperatures still being toasty, and there's still some days next week, for example, Wednesday and Saturday, even Friday, where we'll be in those higher 20s, but there are also days next week where we'll be in those lower to mid 20s. So we won't notice that excessive heat as much next week.
Alberta Health Services has issued a warning about the lake at Heritage Point. Elevated levels of fecal bacteria at the main beach area mean nobody should swim or wade there. AHS says exposure to the water could lead to gastrointestinal illnesses, as well as skin, ear, and eye infections. Public health officers will continue to monitor the bacteria levels. Food suppliers in Canada are getting a boost from the owner of a grocery chain. Next, Galen Weston's investment in food security. Of Canada's big banks this week tell us how much money they're making. Joining me is Robert Geary, investment advisor with the Popwich-Kermally Advisory Group. And Robert, how did the markets close out the day?
Yeah, it was a solid day on the markets, Ian, and I think this was an interesting one to watch because TSX almost hit an intraday high again here. We did have the S&P 500 hit a high at the close here, so I think this was a solid day on the markets. Everyone was watching NVIDIA and the NASDAQ. NVIDIA fell short, but the NASDAQ got a pickup from the rest of the tech stocks.
And TD Bank and CIBC reported their earnings today.
Yeah, so they were the last of the major banks to report here this week. The rest reported earlier, and it was this similar trend that both had really good revenue, really good profit margins, so they beat on both sides of those equations, but they moved in different direction on the market today. CIBC was up 2%, TD was down over 4.5%, so why the difference? And the main reason here is, they had very similar, revenue profiles, less loan loss provisions. TD has had a huge pickup here in the year. They're up over 40%, and they also got a pickup here on the rest of the banks earlier this week. So I think this is more of a kind of a come to Jesus today, saying, hey, maybe they were a little bit overvalued on the run up.
And one of Canada's big grocery chains sets up a fund for food security.
Yeah, this is a great story. So this is Galen Weston, his pledge to philanthropic pledge for $1 billion. Of that, $100 million is going to come from the Wellington groups. This is a fund set up to look at food security here in Canada. So to look at smaller food producers like cattle operators, like greenhouses for fruits and vegetables, and to use that fund to invest through equity and debt to have a minority stake so that they can buy more cattle, so that they don't have to use U.S. food lots, or on the other side, build greenhouses, because we have 65% getting imported right now. So a little bit more for the food security. Galen Weston has obviously some linkage to obviously some grocers. So there's a bit of a non-arm's length transaction here, but it's still a good situation and a good philanthropic start to this fund.
All right, Robert, thanks very much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Peavey Mart is launching a comeback in Alberta this fall. The farm goods stores will be located in Spruce Grove, Westlock, Camrose, and Lacombe. At one point, the retailer had nearly 100 locations across the country, but earlier this year, they all closed. The company says it was because of low consumer confidence, high inflation, rising costs, and supply disruptions. This week alone, 4 people have drowned in Calgary area lakes. Here's Tara Nelson with a look ahead to CTV News continues at 6.
Hi, Ian. 2 people canoeing are still missing in Upper Kananaskis Lake after the boat capsized on Tuesday, and the bodies of 2 young men were recovered yesterday from Mahogany Lake. Coming up at 6, the safety reminders we have for boaters and swimmers, plus where you can get a life jacket for free. And we continue to follow breaking news tonight from Crescent Heights. Police say a suspect with a gun has fired shots at officers and into the community. Residents on Crescent Road Northwest are being told to shelter in place right now. We will have the very latest details coming up for you at 6 o'clock. Ian.
Thank you, Tara. Have you made your plans for the long weekend? It looks like a sunny and hot one right now in the city. It's partly cloudy and 27. Danielle has details still ahead. So many events coming up this weekend, including, of course, the football game on Labor Day itself. Good weather for that. Good weather before and after,
Go to
too.
all of it.
Go to all of it, yeah.
Go to all of it. Because then soon it's going to be -20. You're going to wish you had. 27 degrees is the daytime high today, so it's still quite hot out there. Not record-breaking. The record for this day is 33.9. Okay, I'm showing you the 5-day forecast because obviously we need to include long weekend in this. Now, I will say that there is the potential for shower thunderstorm activity, especially closer to those supper hours Friday and Saturday. Highs in those high 20s is what we'll hold on to pretty much throughout the entire long weekend, but it should be brighter and more stable for Sunday and Monday. Ian, looking pretty good for long weekend.
Thank you, Danielle. A tiny mobile music venue called the Littlest Honky Tonk has made its way from Calgary to meet up with one of country music's biggest touring acts. That is Post Malone performing in the converted horse trailer that pulled into Rice-Eccles Stadium in Utah earlier this summer. The Littlest Honky Tonk is the setting for a video series, a project by Calgary couple Laura and Boots Graham. Post Malone's management reached out to them to set up this collaboration. The Littlest Honky Tonk also acts as a mini museum, decorated with music memorabilia. Boots Graham, a country musician himself, said the moment was born out of a genuine love for the country genre.
So we pulled the truck and trailer right into the stadium, and then his band, I think 7 of them, crammed in here, and we recorded a few songs, and they're on YouTube. You can check them out. It's pretty incredible. As he is like a mainstream artist, he has so much production usually on his work, and we have one microphone. It's a very simple setup in here, so you get to hear what he actually sounds like.
Next week, the Littlest Honky Tonk will be featuring musicians and performers at Spruce Meadows for the Masters Tournament. Fans of country star Lainey Wilson lined up earlier today for her autograph at an exclusive event at the Ranchman's nightclub. Wilson performs tonight at the Saddle Dome. Her new album, Whirlwind, was released last week. The Watermelon Moonshine singer has received multiple Academy of Country Music and Country Music Association awards, including Entertainer of the Year in 2023. Should be a great show tonight. Thank you for joining us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.